yarn exploder, and I figure this will come up, but since I won't have this with me, I figured probably worth doing a little video for you guys to show you how I did the beard for my Viking hat, in case somebody else is trying to do a similar thing. So what I have is I have a finished product here, and just to talk to you about construction, I used there's a moss stitch beard pattern which I'm using. So here's the kind of the pattern that I used from the internet. It's got a mouth opening and it's just kind of a general beard shape. What I did on the back is I sewed the edges of that together, and I also added a strap on the head because I figured once I was trying it on, it wasn't staying on very well. So that's the construction. It kind of goes on your head, and then this little guy goes across the top of your head from ear to ear to keep it on. Like that. Beautiful, right? So that keeps it on pretty securely, and then if you want to layer a hat, in this case this hat, it works out very well because you're not actually sewing anything to the hat itself. It's not pulling on it, it's not heavy. You can wear the hat without the beard, you can wear the beard without the hat. And this beard is very long. And it's made from all that novelty yarn that I showed you guys, and it sheds like crazy, unfortunately. It's that Lion brand homespun, so it's this plus the other one that I talked about, which is just a regular wool blend big yarn. And I've used them kind of intermittently in different areas to create this texture that's kind of dreadlocky, but not really. So take this off. I want to show you how I did it. So once you've done the beard, leave it flat, don't seam anything up, don't create like any of the rest of the structure, just have the flat beard. And I went through and I started with a mustache, but you can really start anywhere across the top. And I took the yarn and I set it on the table, and I was just pulling out, let me see if I can show you guys this, pulling out a length that was about a yard, actually a little bit more than a yard. Just pulling my hand straight back and cutting the yarn at the end of the skein so that I had somewhat uniform lengths. And I've taken those pieces of cut yarn and a crochet hook, which I don't crochet, so this was kind of fun. And I was sticking my crochet hook through, here I should probably show you. I used on this part of the fabric. I was sticking my crochet hook through here, taking my cut piece of yarn, pulling it through just in the middle, pulling a loop through, and then threading the long ends through until they came out and just kind of hung down. So this isn't cut, so it's kind of hard to show you that, but I looped it around the edges. So on the top, you see it's pretty obvious what they are. They're just looped around the edges and hanging down, and they kind of loosen up, but I'm not really worried about wearability with it because it's ludicrous. So after I did the whole top, I did the mustache kind of parts in the middle, and then I took just some scrap of that same yarn and tied the mustaches at the corners of the mouth here. You can kind of see it a little bit, so that those pieces didn't hang straight down in front of the mouth. They kind of came over and down like a mustache naturally does. And that allowed the mouth opening to kind of hang open more. I'll put this back up here. So that when you talk, these are off to the side and hanging down. And when I made it, I noticed that the mouth opening was really wide for my face. And I know my face is kind of small, but I figured it's better for it to be somewhat smaller because it kind of stretches out a little bit. So I took some of that same yarn and actually tied the corners of the mouth together and let them hang down instead of going back through and sewing it up. So you can kind of fix some of those measurements with the yarn that you have. So after I did the entire top and the mustache and the top of the lip, I went through afterward and just I kind of picked the edges on the bottom, so I'm going to try to move it so that you Here's the mouth where my fingers are. And this is just one edge. I went in and I just picked areas so you guys can see it actually really well here. There aren't like pieces of yarn on every single area of this. They're just on some areas. There are some on the bottom, and pretty much what I did was I just hold it up, look in the mirror, look for naked spots, and add them in those kind of naked spots without it being really blatant. I wanted to keep the weight of the beard pretty light because I know that these pull and they look really heavy and they feel really heavy. So I wanted to get the same feel for those big beards without it being a super heavy thing. So this hardly weighs anything. And I used not even a full skein of this. So I'll probably, I'm considering whether or not I want to make braids or what I want to do with the rest of that. But we'll see. So once you've done that, and like, so it's easy to loop them through when it's on the edge. What I did in these middle stitches is I pulled that same loop through. So I went in the front of the fabric with my crochet hook. I'll show you again. And I pulled that yarn loop up through from the back to the front. So I pull it like this. So I had a loop here, and then I just pulled a second, I pulled the second set of the tails back here. So I pulled the loop through the front. These are the tails coming out of the back. This is kind of hard to see. These are the tails coming out of the back. I just pulled them through, but instead of pulling them through the same hole that I pulled my first loop, I just moved one stitch over so that I'm pulling them through beside it. And when I did that, I could pull those two tail ends all the way up through the fabric and then tuck them in to the loop and pull. So what you have with these is they're attached to two stitches and still loop through the same way they're on the top. It's just instead of going around the fabric, you're going around one or two stitches. Now, the great thing about doing it that way is the back of the fabric, you can see little pock marks on it, a few of them where I picked like maybe 2 or 3 stitches instead of 1. But it still maintains a nice fabric. You're not getting like itchy things on your face when you wear it. I use Knit Picks Comfy, I think is what it's called on this. So it worked out well that when you hold it against your face, it's still really soft and easy to wear. But you still get this like kind of crazy look. I've been considering whether or not I want to braid it. I think I'm going to just leave it like it is and let the owner decide how to style it if they style it. And I will caution you one thing with this homespun is that the second that you cut those pieces, they will start to unravel. So all of my ends are kind of like crimped and soft. And that's fine, but they do pull apart too. So I'm getting like a lot of shedding from this. And they will fall apart entirely if it's allowed to kind of unravel all the way up. So I guess theoretically you could knot it or come up with some other way. I'm just going to let them hang because I don't think anyone's wearing this as a long-term fashion solution. So I like just letting them dangle. Since they're over a yard long, it's not going to be a big deal. And I think that's pretty much all you need to know. I just knit the top strap separately from the pattern, the same distance, you know, the same thickness as the edges were. And sewed it where it seemed appropriate. I kind of put it back on my head a little bit so that it's not like right up top, but that gives you, when it's back there, it gives you a little bit of adjustment in terms of you can pull it forward or backward depending on your head size to get it to fit just right. And it seems to work out, so that's how I did it, for those of you who are wondering or needed help with yours. And I hope that was helpful for you. Thanks. Bye.